this fatherhood thing and taking on the role of working with kids in your community is hard. I mean, because you can only do so much, but the need is so great. And
Yeah.
that's the challenge I'm faced with, man, is that the need for men and fathers is so great that I'm watching young men find themselves chasing after us, what I like to call shadow chasing. They're just hoping to catch one of us.
Good evening. What's up, man? Listen,
Man,
party people, sorry for the delay. We had some technical
technical.
difficulties, and
I'm
I'm
still
not going
struggling.
and I'm not going to tell you guys who was causing the technical difficulties, but listen, I guess it's better late than never. Cole,
Man,
what
listen.
up, brother? How you
Listen,
doing, man?
technology is not my thing. It's never been my thing. I miss having my sons at home because they were really involved in making sure everything functioned well when it came to technology. All I had to do was say, "Hey, can you hand me the remote?" Because I didn't feel like moving over to the left. You know what I'm saying? Like kids are so useful,
But
And
listen,
now
man,
I'm on my own, bro. I'm on my
yeah.
own,
Yeah,
so I'm
listen,
struggling.
I can tell. I can tell because I'm waiting in the back room, like, where is he? And so listen, I ain't gonna belabor the point because we would normally be finishing up right now. So let's tap in, man. Listen, the
Come on,
topic,
let's
man,
go.
that I put in the description that we were talking about the other day that we said we wanted to tap in was, listen, I'm not your daddy, right? And my thing to you, bro, is what happens when a kid finds out that the man that they call their dad their whole life is really not their father?
I mean, the answer is his world falls apart, or her world falls apart. To find out the man that I loved all my life and have called my dad isn't my dad, can be really challenging and complex, and it'll make you have to question who you are, especially if you thought all these years that that was your dad, right? I mean, and then you know what sets in when you discover that the man that was supposed to be your dad isn't your dad? Resentment. And then why
Absolutely.
have people been lying to me? Because that's usually the next step. Is like, okay, so you guys knew this wasn't my dad, and you chose not to tell me, or you didn't know this was my father. And should a father even tell a son or daughter that they're not their biological father if they've played that role all their lives? That's the question I ask you. Should he even tell them? Should that even be on the table?
Listen, let me um hey, Miss Sudan. Yeah, good to see you. Good to see you. Thanks for coming in and checking us out tonight. We my buddy Cole and I. But listen, Cole, I have mixed feelings on it, right? Because I have a
Okay.
personal experience with that. I have a personal experience with that. Um, where someone who I went to Michigan State with was a grown man. He has a twin brother, and
Okay.
he found out in his late 20s that the man that raised him his whole life he thought was his father, right?
Mm.
And he had this connection with this man, and and honestly speaking, he did tell me afterwards, like he said, I had a connection with him, but he said I always felt like some type of disconnect and didn't know where that disconnect was,
Hmm. I
right?
can see that.
Didn't know where that disconnect was, and it makes sense that, like, because he wasn't his DNA. But my man was tore up because of it. And my thing is I do think it's the man's responsibility to let that child know at a particular time. I don't think that you should let that boy or that girl go their whole life not knowing that that they are not their biological father, right? Because you can still father children without being their biological parent, right? And so that's my thought. And then, and after I say that part, man, I'll let you speak. But I have a family member, man, and how he found out that a relative wasn't his father. He was a good kid. And after that, bro, he spiraled out of control.
Yeah.
And somebody told him that out of anger,
Oh,
that
wow.
that person wasn't his father. And as a result, my man is incarcerated to this day.
So we is it safe to say that what we're saying is the source, is it how we say it? Is it what age you tell? Because I think that's a really important question too that I think parents wrestle with a lot is like, what age do I tell children these adult or heavy topics? I think that that is one of the big common questions that come up about anything. Well, should we talk about our possible divorce? What age should we talk about this? What age should we talk about sex? There's always this constant thing about asking at what age do we share information with children? Are they ready for it? And I'm often wondering, is it the children that we are most concerned about are ready for it, or is it the adults
Bro,
who
it's the
aren't quite ready
adults.
for it? You know
Bro,
what I'm saying? Because that's what I think is the issue. It's really the adults who struggle with this in terms
I
of
agree.
telling and giving information.
I agree with you totally, because the adults doesn't know, they don't know how to navigate it, right? They don't, because you just think about it years ago, and I'm not tripping on that. Like, I think it was a place for it, but the thing was, children are to be seen and not heard, and children were escorted out of the room, right? Because you can't
Right.
handle adult conversations. I get it. I think that there's a time and place for everything, but I do believe that my daughter is more equipped because I've had real conversations with her about how I used to be.
Yeah.
I'm like, the
Yeah.
man who I am now, that's talking about integrity, that's talking about honoring your mother, that shows you what true love is when I'm interacting with your mother, when I'm flirting with your mother, and all of these different things. Like, years ago, I didn't know how to do that. And so what I'm saying is, I don't want to give you a false perception that when you go out there and, a man finds you, that you're looking perfection, and that you're looking for somebody that's already
Right.
100% put together. When
Yeah. He tailored.
your mama met me, I wasn't 100% put together.
Right.
I had trauma, I had issues, and I grew into the man that I am today. If you ask some of them young ladies that I was dating or seeing when I was in college or high school, they wouldn't have the same narrative.
So true.
And so
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 true.
that goes all to with the conversation, is that my daughter, my children would definitely be more prepared than I was, because I have those real conversations about what is real versus what is fake.
Hmm. Okay. Okay. So for those who have just joined us, the topic of discussion tonight is I'm not your daddy, right? And I think that is a powerful statement that actually triggers so many people, especially when it relates to talking about fathers, but most importantly, being told that a man is not your dad. I'd like to just say very quickly, I found my father in my early 30s, but I knew about my father in terms of just having his age since I was about 18. And I really wanted to pursue looking for him beyond the name. But the biggest fear I had was the idea of me actually finding him and then him telling me, I'm not your dad. So for
Mhm.
me, that idea of being rejected from that space left me with just his name and not willing to pursue or go beyond that until I was in my early 30s. Now I had my father's name at 18. I could have, done all the things that it requires to sort of search for somebody, but I was so married to the rejection of it that I couldn't get past the idea of having found him, doing all that research, longing for him all those years, only to hear him say, "I'm not your dad." So I think that that's a powerful statement that so many of our children don't oftentimes even hear because there aren't any fathers in some of their spaces at all. And so this leads me, Sean, to another question I have for you and for the audience tonight. Should a man father children that don't necessarily belong to him? Should a man be a father to children that are in his community, in his neighborhood who don't have fathers? What do you think about that idea and concept? Because I think that's another big role that I find in my life, that I am starting to and have been a father to sons that have not been biologically mine, have not been required to be a part of my life, was not a part of a relationship I was involved in, but I found myself parenting young men and young women who were not my responsibility.
Yeah. So, man, that's a lot, man. Hey, just want to say, man, welcome to everybody who keep on popping on. And Demetrius, thank you for your comment, man. But yeah, Cole, to respond to your statement, bro, is that I think that happens when we come or grow into maturity, that we can then take on that responsibility or that ownership and
Okay.
begin to father people outside of our home, right? I do think it's our responsibility, if we have the if we have the capacity, if we have the bandwidth, if we have the ability to fill it, to stand in the gap, right?
Okay.
God said that He sought for a man to stand in the gap, to pray, right? To stand, and he couldn't find one. But that was talking about praying. But I use that same concept, is that sons and daughters are looking for fathers to stand in the gap. And in many communities, there are some, but they just don't know how to do it.
Or there are some, and they're so stretched that they can't do it effectively. Does that make
Yes,
sense to you?
yes,
Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
And it breaks
Yeah.
my heart, man, because whenever I work with new dads, right? I don't know what they're bringing to the table. Um, Taylor asked a question, man. I'm gonna speak to that, Taylor. Um, but some dads come through the program, right? And I hear some of the stories where these men are navigating the space of, they like, listen, Sean, I know this child is not mine. I know without a shadow of a doubt this child is not mine. I'm paying child support, whatever the case. But it's just like, yo, I struggle, right? Like, I struggle. Like, I'm not fighting to go get the child because he's not mine,
Right. Right.
but I'm obligated to pay child support because my name was on a birth certificate. I signed the affidavit, or it may be out of that lifespan where I can't remove it. And I'm not
Wow.
running after that child to nurture him. And so that child, he is growing up thinking my dad don't want me.
Yeah.
And mom is perpetuating or sticking to that story that your dad is not coming, that he's no good. But that man is like, yo, I'm really not his father. So that child suffers.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's just one scenario.
Yeah, man. This fatherhood thing, this idea of taking the responsibility and ownership of the role of being a dad is extremely challenging and tough. I think one of the things I just shared in one of my parenting classes just even tonight, that parenting is probably one of the hardest relationships in my life I've had to learn how to really navigate and do it, and I don't even know if I can say successfully, but do it in a way that, everybody at least isn't as scarred as they could have been based on my journey to fatherhood. But one of the reasons why I asked about the idea of, should a man be a father to children in his community, because I was challenged recently by not keeping my word to a young man. I didn't show up at the time when I told him I was going to show up, and I was fully committed to a variety of other things and not so much him. And when we did get in contact with each other, which was that following day, one of the things he said to me, which was really powerful, he was like, "I'm not mad at you that you didn't show up, because you typically and always do. What I'm really upset about is that, man, you didn't call me to tell me that you wasn't coming." And I kind of he said he sat there, and he wasn't mad that I didn't come, but he began to worry about the fact that I didn't call, which typically I do. And so that created a sense of anxiety in him. And for me, I hadn't really thought that I had that deep of a relationship with him for him to even see me in that space of worrying about me, and
Yeah.
so I thought that really that sat heavy in me, because I realized I'm like, man, I also have to continuously remind myself that I have a role to play and that I have to continue when I say I'm going to be committed in the lives of young people, that I have to actually stick with that. And if I can't follow through, then you know what? Then you have to do what adults do, is that you have to call. And I think sometimes we kind of just, and I can't say we, I'll speak for me. I dropped the ball on that. And one of the reasons why I did is that part of me is like, well, he's really not my son. And I wasn't thinking that at the time, but the level of commitment that, I have with my sons versus sons that, I may say, hey, I'm gonna be there for, you know, I push that envelope from time to time. And I thought,
Yeah.
my gosh, man, I gotta work on that. And
Yeah.
so I think part of me having this conversation live is just to say to people too, yes, I do this work. Yes, I love working with fathers, and that's the space I operate in. But you know, this fatherhood thing and taking on the role of working with kids in your community is hard. I mean, because you can only do so much, but the need is so great. And
Yeah.
that's the challenge I'm faced with, man, is that the need for men and fathers is so great that I'm watching young men find themselves chasing after us, what I like to call shadow chasing. They're just hoping to catch one of us. And hopefully one of us will stick long enough to help him figure out how to do this, how to live life and become a healthy man. So it's challenging, man. It's
That's
challenging
good, man.
for sure.
That's good that you were able to accept that and own it. And I
Yeah.
remember you talking about it, and you definitely apologized and you owned it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what happens, man, a lot of times, man, our children will make us step up, bro. They will make us, they make us, not be that public, success, but a private failure. They like,
Failure.
no, we gonna hold you accountable,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
that's extremely important. And I want to answer this question that Tyler asked. He said, Taylor asked. He said, "How do you make the commitment to get the DNA testing done, though? What if you want the info, but you're worried about how to navigate the answer?" Man, that's tough. That goes back to what Cole said about him wanting to find his father in that rejection, right? And I just look at this, man. My thought on it is like I got to the place for with success and wanted to be successful is that I success became the driving force over fear,
Hmm.
right?
That's good.
Because
That's
fear
good.
fear of not succeeding kept me paralyzed and kept me unorganized and kept me making excuses. But
Makes sense.
when success was my only option, then the
You tapping
other,
in.
right?
You
Then the
tapping in.
would you say?
You tapping in, bro. You
No,
you hitting it.
I'm just saying like that became everything. Like I had no other option, right? That fear and failure was no longer an option, right?
Hmm.
So and me, you guys know I'm a believer. So I subscribe to what Jesus said when he said that the Bible talks about that he became is important to know this part became or like he was becoming, right? He became a man of no reputation.
Hmm. Wow.
I'm gonna say it again. He became a man of no reputation.
Wow.
He had to grow into his deity and into his stature, right? He was tested in the wilderness. He was tested with women. He was tested by Pharisees and Sadducees. So he became the reflection or the example. So the same thing as us, I had to become a man of no reputation, right? And so that's how I had to continue to die to myself to where I would tell the masses what I've gone through,
Yeah.
that I had trouble in my marriage, that I went and had to file bankruptcy, that I struggled with pornography, that I I'm a man of no reputation. What can you do? Like the whole world knows, bruh.
Yeah.
So you can't go and tell on me because I told on
Wow.
myself
Wow.
because I don't portray myself to be perfect. I still battle with stuff,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I make it a priority to continue to work on me. And I don't care what other people say because I know what I went through and where I am today. Like, bruh, doesn't matter, man.
That's
I'm
real.
tearing up now. Like, bruh, I went through hell in 2017. And people don't know that. And I'm like, for where I am today, like, bro, you can't do jack. So I had to die to myself, man, because I didn't know how things was gonna turn out. I didn't know what the end result was. And I made a commitment then, bro. I'm dying to myself, and I could care less what other people say. I'm on assignment. I'm gonna dominate my lane. I'm not in competition with nobody else. Do you? I'm gonna do me.
Yeah.
And so when you say that, like Taylor, my thing is what's most important? Is it your feelings, or is it really trying to save that child or save you? If it's your feelings, you will never get to that place
Yeah.
because it
Yeah,
has to
man.
be bigger than us. And I'm not and I'm not saying that this is you, Taylor, or whatever the case. I'm just talking about for all of us, is that the assignment has to be bigger than ourselves. And if we are always bigger than everything else, then no, we're not gonna move. Because we're gonna always try to preserve our feelings. We're gonna try to preserve us.
Yeah.
Hope that
So
makes sense.
that's yeah, man. I mean, you just said it, man. Part of this is really going back to understanding what your assignment is. What have you been assigned? What have you been called? And in order to know what you've been assigned and what you've been called to do, you actually have to believe that you belong here and that you have something to give to the world. And I think that's another hard puzzle that I find with young men and young women who struggle without having a father. And I talk about this often is that sometimes a parent's responsibility is to help you see the gift that you have within you and name that gift for you and help develop that gift so that it becomes something that not only is within you but it comes out of you and you give it to the world. But again, I think that if a father doesn't know what his gifts are and he hasn't been named himself other than what we call men, and he believes in that name, then it becomes really difficult to figure out what your passion is and what your lane is and what you've been called to do. And I think that, is difficult. But I think, Sean, what you just helped us all see is that, you know what, if this is something that you're really passionate about and you want to do, you have to do the internal work. You have to go deep. You have to go within, and be vulnerable and all of the things that we constantly are told we can't be as men. But
Yeah,
you're living proof that that's how you do the work.
yeah,
That's how you dominate in your lane. And
yeah,
that's how you become the kind of father that your children can be proud of,
yeah.
So I
And
appreciate you sharing that, brother.
yeah, nah, no problem, man. My thing
Yeah,
is, man, is just, speaking to the men, just going back to the topic is that I'm not your daddy, man. Like those are powerful words, man.
absolutely.
I tell you, my family member who experienced that, man, they still deal with that baggage, right? And it's a lot of families out there navigating that space, like how to navigate that. How do I tell that child, or how do I get over, or moms really like, man. I have one guy who was in the program, man. This brother, like, listen, I want to establish a relationship, and in our program, we have play, we put a lot of emphasis on restoring families, right? And not necessarily getting mom back together, but
Right,
teaching them or trying to see how can they co-parent, right? So that child can
right.
become successful. But the dad who was in the program, he's like, listen, I can't. I can't. Only me and the mom know that that child is mine. The
Mm,
child is mine, but she's married to another man that's in the house. And like I can't go and disrupt that house. That's heavy, man.
Yeah, that is heavy. And
That's
what
heavy. The
yeah,
child
I don't
is, I
know.
think the child is like, 14 now, 13, 14, and all his life he believed that the man is in the house with him is, that's his dad. But the
Yeah.
man in the program, he like, yo, that's that's definitely my son. And he's paying, and he's paying child support for that child.
And I think it goes back to who is it hardest for? Is it hardest for the adults to really say, okay, this is complex, this happened, this is what we did? How do we find a way to create a village for this child so that he or she sees that, you know, despite the title, we're all here and we all are going to love you and walk with you through this process. But I think the hard part happens to the adults who have a difficult time really admitting the narrative and
Oh,
accepting the narrative,
yeah.
man. And so then it becomes very difficult for them to tell the child. And when the child does find out, then it becomes betrayal. It becomes all of you knew this secret and you were challenged, you were sharing this and around me, and there were people y'all all knew except for me. And I think that that is where all of those other things that we talk about that parents fear, well, if I tell my child this, then they're going to act out in this way. And sometimes it is because children start to discover that the people that they love the most, who told them and share with them constantly, you can come to me and talk to me about anything. I'm there for you. It looks like I froze
Yeah, you
for a
did. Yeah,
second,
yo, I tell you,
right? I did.
your internet.
My lip was twisted, all kind of. You know what I'm saying? I didn't like that, bro.
Yeah.
So I was speaking
Yo,
some truth. It was coming from within my spirit, and my face froze. No,
yeah.
that's not a good look.
We're gonna have to upgrade you, bro. We have to find a way to
Bro, I
upgrade
don't
you.
know what I'm
Yep.
doing.
But this is the thing, man. To, as we go into our legit or not legit, and people, we need you to
Oh
chime
my
in on this
god.
legit or not legit. We're about to put that up in 1 second, and you tell us your thoughts. So, but my thing, just to end with this statement, man, is that family, the two adults are more afraid because the child is in the blind and her new husband is in the blind. He think
Whew.
that child is his. That child think that that's his daddy.
Yeah,
So this outside dad and mama, they know. So they just like, yo, we gonna take this to our grave.
man.
You know what I mean? And so I think that child probably is experiencing a disconnect. Like bro, you have a connection
Yeah.
with your parents. Even I man, I have a relative who had a desire to do one thing in their profession, and they found their father years later in their adult years, and why the very thing that they always wanted to do, their father is doing it. Look just
No,
like they dad, the whole nine, because it's in the DNA.
it is. It
It's in
is.
the DNA. And listen, I give so many kudos to stepdads and dads that's stepping up and standing in the gap. Like, yo, kudos to you. That's what you're supposed to do, man. Right? But there's
Yeah.
nothing like your mama and your daddy, man.
No, I agree, man. I agree. Finding my father at 30 some years old, learning that he loves music. People don't know I can sing, bro. They don't know
Is
that
that
I can.
right?
Man, I can sing.
Yo,
Yeah, you know, I
we
don't.
go, yo,
No, we're not
you
doing
sound like
that.
Telly Pendergrass. You got
No,
that,
man, look.
you got.
Wow, Sean, really?
Yeah. We
Wow.
gonna get that little Teddy Pendergrass
Look,
going.
man, my pops is a singer. My pops owns a studio. He has a big family. He is a man. He loves kids. Kids love him. When I first met this man, we were up all night playing Uno with all of his grandchildren, man. And so that just told me, man, that is where my love for children come from. Is from what even though my father, I wasn't raised with him, I saw his tender heart. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, man, that is why I am a sensitive guy, because my pops is a caring, loving man, and
All
even
right.
though I didn't grow up with him, it was in the DNA.
Yeah, we gonna get you on here to
You
sing,
know,
bro.
man,
We gonna
listen,
pipe you up, man.
yeah, they
We
ain't
gonna get that going. D
they ain't
Morgan,
ready for that, bro. They ain't
look
ready
look
for
at
that.
you.
They ain't ready
Really?
for
You
that.
gonna pull up that big brush? Really? You gonna pull up that big brush? Where your spray at? D Morgan, what's up, baby?
You know I come
See,
with the
there you go.
spray.
You got that little magic.
You know that little magic. You see that little part right there. You just spray it in, bro. I can't get it because of the way it's set up, but you just spray it. You know, just hit all the little spots. You be good.
You are a mess, bro. So check it out, fellas and women that's on here. We need to ask you: is this legit or not legit? Legit or not
Yeah,
legit?
I'm
This right
sweating.
here, I'm about to put it on now. You tell us: is this legit?
I'm sweating. So, Sean kind of set us up. What's happening here,
Like
man? What's
this
going
right
on?
here is a video of a young lady who just got married, and they are
Okay.
at the reception, and she, giving her new husband, a
Yeah.
lap dance. And not only that, like her dress, like the whole backside out, right? And it's
Back,
like a
all the
thong.
back out.
Yeah. And my question,
Well, they
uh
look like they got a routine going, bro.
yeah,
Like,
they
oh,
no, they
yeah.
practice that. You see her, they practice that.
Yes.
And
Okay.
this went viral. Like, like you see her, like, all of that.
Yeah.
You see her, like,
Yeah.
all of that. Somebody loving it. Somebody putting hearts. I don't know who that is, but I guess they
Yeah.
saying it's legit already. So my question, is it legit or not legit to twerk on your husband and have all of your goodness out? So I'm asking you, is it at the reception?
I'm
Is it
I'm
legit
gonna
or not
say
legit? And I
if
asked you, but you didn't give me your answer. So I'm asking you
right.
now: is it
Well,
legit or not legit?
at first my challenge was trying to figure out is it legit or not legit, but then I saw the husband's face. And then I said to myself, I looked at him, I looked at her, and they looked like they were having fun and they were happy. And he had the biggest smile on his face, and that was their day. So in my mind, it's legit. I think that one of the things I keep learning over and over again is our proximity as men, and what right do we have to tell women how they should look, what they should wear, and how should we be policing their bodies. And that brother looked extremely happy, and his new wife looked extremely happy with him. So I say legit.
So you say
Too legit. Hey, too legit to quit. Hey, hey. Look, I'm telling you, they was boy. Listen,
so listen,
it's legit. I don't know
listen.
where the kids were at.
See, that's what. So that's what I'm about to say. I don't know. Can I have a
Where they,
disclaimer with my legit or not legit, or I just gotta have it one way?
look, I don't believe the kids were there.
So you gonna say
I
you
don't
don't
believe
believe
the
the
kids.
kids are there?
I don't believe the kids were there, man.
All right.
So
So that's my point. If
yeah, the kids weren't there.
what do you guys think? Was that legit or not legit? But my thing
The kids
is,
weren't there.
if no, he said the kids wasn't there. If the kids weren't there, then I would say it is absolutely legit.
Yeah, it's legit.
It's legit
It's
because
legit.
they married, they
Yeah,
grown, is other adults there. That's their friends. Their friends know how they get down, and I'm quite sure they family know how they get down. So I say it is legit.
and
However, if the
and so
kids, if the babies was there,
but you know what? I want to challenge that too, right? Because
okay.
if we were to really take it back to African culture and certain cultures, your the body and dancing provocative isn't, and then we call it provocative. See, that's another thing. Y'all don't want to get me started on this. It's how we tend to sexualize everything, right? And so, are you froze, Sean?
No, no, I'm not froze. I'm listening. I'm listening.
I thought you was froze, bro.
I'm listening. I'm
I
listening.
I got to thinking, I'm like, man, dude, have you paid attention that what's on television, what's in commercials? I mean, I'm more frightened about those kind of things. I think that when I saw this, it took me a minute, right? Because again,
So
the
you
first thing
process. You had a
we
whole week to
I had to
think about
process,
this. You
bro.
had a
I had
whole
to
week.
process.
I
Yeah,
told you this
yeah,
last week.
yeah,
I should
yeah.
have got
I
your
had to,
initial
you
reaction.
should have got it initially, but I processed. I was like, oh no, my reaction is judge. That's my initial reaction, right? Is to go into that space of judgment. But when you take some time to think about it, bro, they have fun. Kids are there. Hey,
Okay. You said
we
I got it. You know what I mean? I
gonna be.
guess I just struggle a little bit. I guess I just
Yeah,
struggle a little bit. I got so
I
so
get
I
it.
so I just struggle a little bit. You know what I mean?
I ain't doing it.
So and I'm not doing it. I would not. I would not. I give my wife a look like,
Yeah, I ain't doing it.
yeah.
But hey,
So
hey,
that was on him. Like you say, he was happy. She was
he was
happy.
happy.
That was their
He was
day.
happy.
So I thought that would be a
Living.
good, legit or not legit.
Yeah.
It looks like Ken. He got a bootleg Facebook because he's the Facebook user.
Oh
Uh,
shoot.
yeah,
Come on,
his
Ken.
says Facebook user. I need you to
Come
level
on,
up. You
Ken.
to,
Come on,
uh,
Ken. You
yeah.
messing
So
around like Ken. You acting like me out here.
yeah, boy. So he said it's legit if you are married for sure. So there you have it. All
Oh,
right,
so the single
listen.
folks can't do stuff. Y'all better go on. All y'all
What you
these
say? What you
single
say?
folks can't do it. But if it's anyway, all right, Ken. I hear you.
Well,
I
that's
hear
his
you.
legit. That's his
I hear
legit.
you,
You know
Ken.
what I
I
mean?
support you. I hear you, man. I hear you.
See,
I hear
that's why
you.
you froze. That's why you froze. Listen, man, we appreciate you guys tapping in with us. We thank you for growing with us.
Yeah.
Listen, we'll be back here next week on time at 8 p.m. We'll be here not
Yeah.
8:45, not 8:30. We gonna get our boy
I'm gonna get
together.
the tech
He already got
together.
a mic. You see his mic right there? He already got a mic. Show him your mic. See, he's starting to sound good. We about to go to a
Yes.
whole nother level. You
That's
know what I
it,
mean?
baby.
All right.
That's it.
So listen, man, we thank you for tapping in once again. Listen, go out there and make this week a great week. Be
Absolutely.
blessed, and always, like we always say, man, don't be average. You might as well be elite. Let's
Man.
get it.
There you go.